20, 30, 95. Yeah, that's 100. So I'm guessing training data checks. So this one, I probably would have, maybe when I shuffled this back around, because I did Presenter Watch, this would have been with other admin,
Perfect.
that kind of thing.
Okay, that's fine.
I mean, that's essentially bucketing reading news and just trying to keep up on news.
Exactly. So let me just tell you why I followed up on it. I mean, it's not only because I need it to be 100, but so the reason I ask for percentages is because when people actually sit down and figure out where they're spending their time, all of a sudden it starts to come out that it's last minute asks, it's a lot of administrative work, and those are all the things that I can then take out and say, we need structure. Definitely. You need a process improvement. So I just wanted to make sure that, people actually took the time, and it's
it's tough. I don't think I even made space for. I tried to bucket in the last minute stuff with that because it's impossible to extract that from day to day.
And I wouldn't, and don't worry, don't worry about that because I've seen this 100 times. So I know now that Anthony, X amount of your workforce is spending too much time on fire drills. That's the message to give. But I couldn't have you guys think about what my communication was going to be to him without asking for it here.
Right.
But it's also a good exercise, I went from working in traditional offices to consulting, and similar to working in a law firm where you have to document every single hour of your day. It really teaches me. It's a good exercise once a year to ask traditional firms to say, what are you spending your time on? Because if you're spending your time on BS stuff that isn't contributing to the bottom line, because like attorneys, every dollar is then allocated to a client. Consulting, every hour is. It really.
I totally get it. Yeah.
It
helps. And I don't know if I put it in there. I had a pretty big chunk for like research, which is a nebulous
I think it was 65%.
A good chunk of that is time wasting little stuff that can be fixed or avoided, like last minute outreach or setting up interviews myself.
All the scheduling stuff.
The scheduling
was
stuff
made.
is crazy.
Not only did you make it really clear, so thank you, but I've also heard it.
I assumed it wasn't just me. It's pretty bad.
Yeah. And is that I did have a pretty lengthy conversation about this, but is it that just your audience's time is constrained? Is it because they don't want to share the information? I mean, what do you think is causing the scheduling?
It's a little bit...
Or is it just the administrative follow-up?
It's a little bit of all of it. So, the people we're talking to, they don't have a whole lot of time to spend throwing back and forth questions or 40-minute interviews, so it's kind of cumbersome for them to do that. And that's tough. That right down to getting in touch with the right people, like our outreach lists, those are all quite dated. I mean, I'm doing a survey now, and I was sending out emails something to a list from like 3 years ago, because we just don't have someone whose sole focus is like putting together the proper, outreach lists.
Right. Okay.
Or about like a database type thing.
Yeah, database came up. Database and communication were the two. Were the two biggies. All right, then the other question I had on your questionnaire, and we did touch upon it a little bit, but when you noted that you have a difficulty approaching certain people in research, was that because you and Roddy are remote, or is that because literally there's no one in the office? Even if you're sitting in there, there's no one in the office that you can really go to for guidance or direction. Yeah,
and it's not like this has nothing to do with the person. It's more like we're siloed off, and I know everybody else probably just like myself and Roddy are working against a seemingly endless number of deadlines and irritating little things they have to deal with. I just feel bad asking for people for, little tasks that people, you don't want to ask someone else to do that. There should be someone else there for. Like, we used to have a lot more, like, junior analysts, and a front desk person was really helpful. And it's just not the case anymore, especially if you're remote. You can't just like call someone up and be like, it's much easier when I'm in here. I can be like, hey Tom, would sometime the next half hour can you do this? It's different remotely. So there's no. I know Roddy probably has a big issue with that too, because he has that on top of being in a different time zone. So.
Yeah, I'm not talking to him until tomorrow, but I would imagine.
I'm pretty sure that's going to come.
Right, won't come as a surprise. So the front desk person. Did they help with sort of just like being a utility player and just helping out wherever they needed?
I guess she left a while ago. I'm not sure when. Maybe earlier this year. She was really helpful. She was really hands-on with the outreach and calling and scheduling interviews. So that's
Gotcha.
great. I'm not sure what they've got David doing or how many different directions they're trying to pull him, but it's much more helpful if it's someone who's a little bit more familiar with the actual practice or group within research that's a little bit more familiar, so you don't have to fully educate them on just what the project is before they can even answer a question.
Right. Yeah, I think one of the overall takeaways is just a lack of training for new employees.
Definitely.
And I feel that your organization has an interesting dynamic where you have a lot of senior people, seasoned market people, but then you have a lot of new employees who aren't just new to the firm, but they're recent grads. And that tends to happen when you're budget constrained, but there are always ramifications to every decision. So if you hire someone right out of college, you have to expect that your workforce is going to train those people in office etiquette and all the basics.
Yeah, I don't think we have anything like that. I mean, when I started, I know that wasn't the case. Right. I've seen a lot of turnover since I've been here. So
yeah, and that's why I keep saying it's just a matter of going back to the basics. And you don't want to admit that when you're a 15-year-old company, but it's changed so frequently that you're just not the same as you were even last year. There was really once Anthony really became the new CEO, it's really a different different organization. Okay. So pretty much the last question that I have on my list is if taking money out of this conversation, if you don't feel properly motivated and incentivized, are there things that you would suggest to motivate you a little bit more?
No, because mostly it seems like if you get something done quickly or well, it just frees you up to do the next thing with maybe a little bit less of a headache because you're not working against two deadlines.
Right.
The